right, everyone. Welcome to another session for the 2024 RevTech Summit. I am joined by the one, the only Latané Conant. Not only is she a practitioner, she's an author, she's a thought leader. I mean, what isn't Latané? With that, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit more. But Latané, you're the CRO now at 6 Sense. You were the CMO, and you just keep moving on up in the world. CEO next, maybe?
See, oh, no. I'm good, really.
You're good. All right. Well, before we hop into it, we're gonna talk a lot about, hey, how are you using AI to generate pipeline, a few other things around just driving more pipeline for your company. But tell everyone just a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So, Latané Conant, and I am currently the CRO at 6 Sense, but forever, what felt like forever, I was the CMO, the Chief Market Officer. And so I still have tons of passion for marketing and luckily still have the marketing function. But I also have sales, customer success, partnerships, customer experience, and professional services. So
wow,
it's quite a change, but we're getting after it, and I'm excited to talk to you about some of the things that we're seeing in our business and some of the things that are working well for us that hopefully other people can leverage.
Yeah. We talked a little bit before, and we have a few things I want to dive in on. But one is you guys are using generative AI to drive pipeline just kind of all on its own. And that is something that I think for this summit, for this audience, it would be super interesting. So would love to hear what's the play? What are you doing?
Sure. So you know how you go to San Francisco and there's those cars with all the different cameras, the autonomous driving cars? Well, I told the team I want autonomous pipeline. And it sounds kind of like a pipe dream, but the reality is with generative AI, and particularly there is a product that's part of the 6 Sense product suite that reads, writes, and responds to emails. You start to think about that and the ability to use that. And that's really where this autonomous pipeline is getting driven from. And we have a number of plays that we run using this. A couple are just things that if you think about opportunities that would typically go to waste if you don't have this capability, things like low fit inbounds, things like following up on webinars, following up on trade shows, booking pre-meetings for trade shows, making sure that all of our 6 QAs, which for us is a qualified account that is showing intent, get worked in a timely fashion. These are all the things going back to lost opportunities and making sure that we do that, extremely consistently. These are all the things that is a great use case for conversational email because, it just is going to happen. Once the play is set up, it's always going to run. And it's able to really have the level of personalization, though, that we want, because, again, it's going to learn from the intent signal. If it's an account, it's going to learn from the situation of that account. We can train it up on 6 Sense, our case studies, our CTAs. We can train it on our personas the same way you would train, a BDR or account executive. And this has really allowed us to just create straight pipeline from these plays, but it's also really enabled us to free up our precious resources like our BDR's time to do more calling and to do more LinkedIn outreach and to do more social touches, which is really the high value activity that we need them to be doing. When we look, we found that email, especially on the BDR front, is starting to have a real diminishing return. And so how do we still have high quality personalized email, but again, make sure that those precious resources are doing more of the human outreach that we want them to do?
I like it. You touched on a few things there that I want to dig in just a little bit more. So I love the example of, you got the cars with the cameras. Every time you go to SF, you see them driving around. I mean, the same with pipeline. I mean, like, what sales leader doesn't want the pipeline to just appear? What sales rep doesn't want the meeting just put on their calendar? You had a couple of plays, and I wonder if we could dig in on one or two of those just a little bit and walk us through how you do it. One was low fit inbound. So I'm guessing somebody comes in, not quite matching like your ICP, but they've raised their hand and said they're interested in 6 cents. What does that process look like from the time that form gets submitted?
Well, for us, we want like a 6-minute response time, ideally. So, we want to make sure that the response time is really quick. And then there could be some further qualification that happens, that maybe the low fit inbound isn't low fit. Maybe it's a great one for us. Or there's a lot of scenarios where, maybe that account's not ready for 6 cents, but they're a great fit for one of our partners.
Okay.
And so what ends up happening a lot is it ends up being a great partner referral. So those are kind of typically the two streams, is we either are able to qualify it, or we can refer that company to one of our amazing partners.
Yeah, but you don't even have a BDR. It's just all the AI sends the email, responds back. If it recognizes, I'm assuming, maybe wrongly, but I'm assuming if it recognizes, hey, we need a person, it kind of gets somebody's attention to come in.
Yeah, there's a flag for like human review or human input when needed too, if it gets, confused.
Okay. Okay, I love it. And then you've got 8 plays that you're running. Just to recap, low fit inbound. I've missed them all, or some of them, but I love the idea of setting pre-meetings for an event. Like, great way, because you got thousands of people at a lot of these events. Like, just get the invites out.
Yeah, it's hard though, right? Because you get the list, you don't have a lot of time. Usually you get the list now, in shorter and shorter order before the event. So, maybe it's 2 or 3 days before. You got to get it enriched. And then, you got to start your outreach. And that's a lot of mobilization across a sales team. And if we can just do that ourselves, and typically our field marketing team does a great job of like creating the opportunities for meetings and having meeting space and things like that. And we typically know what SMEs are going to be there. And so monetizing those big programs is all about the pre-booked meetings. And so this is a great way for us to make sure that we're achieving that goal.
I love it. What were some of those other plays though? Just so everyone's thinking about, hey, what's different ways we can leverage this?
Yeah. So one of them is we have it's called no 6QA left behind. So a 6QA is a 6 cents qualified account. This means it's high fit for us and it's showing intent.
Okay.
Now they haven't necessarily come inbound yet.
Yeah, they haven't raised their hand yet, but there's some intent there.
Exactly. Okay. And we know that they're ready to take a meeting. And so, in our commercial space where we don't have as many BDRs, those get worked by the AI. And then in our upper markets, essentially what happens is if the BDR's response time doesn't meet the SLA, it goes to the AI. Okay. So we want to make sure that every single account that's in market for what we do is getting outreach within 24 hours of the intent signal being where it needs to be.
I like it. Okay. So you touched on this has allowed you to shift your BDRs to the phone and to social. Tell us a little bit more about that, because I agree with you on email has diminishing returns, but I think getting back to the phone is actually kind of the future.
Yeah, well, and I mean, you think about it, for us, one of my favorite pictures from Club is President's Club is the one where we have all the BDRs, legacy BDRs that are now sales reps and are at President's Club. And there is a lot of them. So that is my goal. My goal is to, hire a BDR and then be able to, get them to Club. And some are even up into like enterprise and strat AEs at this point. So it's pretty darn amazing.
Yeah.
And how are we going to prepare them? And email is fine, modem, to get going, but ultimately they need to be able to have a conversation. They need to be able to carry a conversation. They need to be able to build, their presence on things like LinkedIn. And so we want them spending as much time doing that, not just because it's better, use of human calories. And we know that's what connects, but it's also way better for their skills and their development. So essentially what we do is we try to have the AI reading, writing, and responding to emails, and they're just layering on the calls and the social touches. And if you think about, and it's not that a BDR or an AE or a sales or marketing, I mean, everyone needs to be able to know how to write still. So don't get me wrong. But, for us to keep the AI up to date with our persona maps, with our case studies, with our commercial teachings, it's way easier, actually. I mean, it's just, we program it in, we train it, we test it, and boom, the AI has learned. Whereas sometimes with when you think about enabling a full-on team on a new case study or a new commercial teaching, it can be quite challenging. So, because I think a lot of people are worried about the quality of the email, but I think if you really inspected the quality of a lot of your emails, you'd be like,
Yeah. And then, training your sales team, like, it just takes time, like you roll out a new feature or a new, a new product, whatever you're selling, service, you think, hey, we come down, we spend a couple hours or an hour, depending on how intense it is with the sales team, they got it. And then you sit down with them 3 weeks later and it's like, they just scratch the surface,
Right.
So you got to keep working with them on what's all there. So with the AI, that it does make sense. Like one time it's like, I got it. Okay. So another thing we touched on that I love, I think this is definitely true, that what you were telling me about, but B2B inflation. And I'd love you just to tell everyone what B2B inflation is and how we deal with it.
Yeah. So what's interesting is we, every quarter we go and we look at all of our closed won deals and we figure out what does it take to win a deal? Really, what does it take? And we look at what happens in what we call the dark funnel as well as the known funnel, right? So the known funnel is, you can get that from your gong calls and meetings and is typically in your CRM. But there's all this activity that's happening somewhat unknown to you. And we call that the dark funnel. And I want to look at both and say, what does it really take? And we're finding that it takes more and more to win a deal. So we need more engaged stakeholders. We need more visits to the website.
Yeah.
They're going to consume more content. And you start looking at all of these and it's like, wow, but I have the same team and I have the same marketing budget. Yeah. So I joke that that's like inflation. It's like B2B inflation. It's like deal inflation, that it's going to be a lot harder with the same resources. And so it's like, gosh, we can't just work a little bit harder anymore. We have to fundamentally work a lot smarter and be able to really choreograph success if we're going to make sure that we're, have a chance against what I'm calling B2B inflation. Yeah. And we've also found, we did a study, we hired Carrie Cunningham, who's an serious decision analyst, and he has a research team. And so we do a lot of research just on all kinds of things. But, only 70 some percent of website visitors fill out a form. So if you're waiting for someone to fill out a form, you're going to be waiting a while.
Yep.
We also found that the Ricky Bobby rule definitely applies in B2B. So the salesperson who gets in first wins 86% of the time. So it takes more, it's harder. You need to be in more places. You got to get in first. This is all like part of how I think about that, B2B inflation. And then that just means we have to work differently. We have to really sales, marketing, customer success. We all have to be aligned. We all have to be looking at the same data set. And again, choreographing what success looks like.
Yeah.
So that we make sure that we go after the right accounts and we really work them and we do get in first.
Yeah.
For those accounts.
I like that. And I mean, I worked at Inside Sales way back when we did that study with MIT, and pretty much it was like, if you get there first, you're going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. The Ricky Bobby rule, we just proved it again that it's true. Not necessarily that it's a new rule.
No, if you ain't first, you're last. So, okay. So what tools are you guys using? I mean, obviously you're using 6th Sense, but what tools do you think are critical right now to help you win these deals and make the most of your budget? Because like all of us, the budgets aren't really going up, but you are expected to hit a bigger number.
Yeah. So obviously 6th Sense as well as data that we bring into 6th Sense is pretty critical. So a data source that I love is we use Reveal, which tells us, for our partner ecosystem, what that looks like, because partners are a big part of our strategy this year. So that's a pretty critical one. From a web perspective, we have things like chat that allows us to, as soon as someone's on the website, be right there, ready to talk to them. So we're not, missing a revenue moment. We're in there at kind of as soon as we can. We use a lot of things on the website to just make sure we personalize the website. Again, you're not first, you're last. So the last thing we want is someone to bounce, right? So when someone gets there, we want to make sure that they see things that are relevant. And given that we know with 6th Sense so much about them,
yeah,
we can again choreograph that journey a lot more fully. When we think about the BDR team and the BDR stack, we've added Orem, which allows us to do a lot more around our calling, which is really, really critical. So those are some of like the key things that we leverage. But really it is about the data and the process and the alignment of the teams around that.
Okay. I like it. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on is you told us about this new initiative you guys are running. And on Tuesday, you guys are all together, but what do you, just give us the rundown of what you guys are doing to bring everybody into the go-to-market motion?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. Like I joke with my CMOs. I'm like, okay, so the best way to, help make sure that all the pipeline gets worked is to, go and be the CRO. And then you can make sure everything gets worked. That's my big joke. But, we just find that if you want predictable revenue, you have to have predictable pipeline. It all starts with a predictable pipeline. And these episodic, heroic, pipeline blitzes feel really good in the moment, but it's something that you have to focus on every single week. Yeah. And a lot of times what a sales leader will look at is they'll look at coverage. So coming into the quarter, they'll be like, okay, here's my coverage. Well, at that point, it's too late. Your coverage is what your coverage is, right? And you've already kind of laid your bed, so to speak, for the quarter. So what we want to do is we look actually at creation goals, and we have very specific creation goals every single week, every team, every product. And then those tie back to Tuesday, which the entire go-to-market team is focused on generating pipeline. And it's this kind of like huge rhythm that we are injecting into our business. And it's been a real game changer for us. And it's really important because, prospecting is hard. And so I think it's okay to tell the team, hey, we get it's hard. We get you probably don't love doing it, but it's important. And so we're going to do our best to make it fun. We're going to give you all the tools that you need to be successful. Technology, enablement, content, spiffs, gifts. I mean, you name it. We're going to enable around it. But the get for that is an expectation around what needs to happen every Tuesday and the amount of just how much, pipeline needs to get generated. And so we've made this like a real rhythm to our business, which has been absolutely a game changer for us.
I like it. Okay, so who's on the go-to-market? You said the whole go-to-market team, and who is that at 6sense?
So it's marketing, it's sales, it's our BDRs, it's our, our CSMs do PG Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's around adoption is the ultimate top of funnel. So sometimes their PG Tuesdays are geared around, hey, how do we make sure that people are, using everything that they bought and adopting? But every function has specific PG Tuesday goals depending on the Tuesday to really rally. And as an executive, I'm like waiting to get my, my list at the end of the day Tuesday of all the accounts that I can go and help on, as all of our other executives. So the whole company knows the expectations around PG Tuesday and is here to support.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, I think that's about all the time we have, Latané. Thank you so much for joining us. Any closing words, then words of wisdom you would leave with us?
No, I'm just optimistic. I think it's going to be a great year for all of us. So, yeah, I would say lean into technology and data, and specifically, things around generative. I think it's really an interesting time. And then you want to future-proof bookings, future-proof your pipeline.
I like it. I like it. Awesome. Thank you, Latané. And for everyone else, just stick around. The next session is just coming right up.
Thanks for having me.